Story 1. Businesses expecting you to surrender all your data. Loyal customer? No discount if you don't allow us to track your purchases. Please insert your ID card to get a discount. Story 2. Teacher here. Passing students who should not actually be passing so the school can advance them to the next grade and receive their funding. They used to simply be held back. Story 3. Filming strangers and posting them online, especially people who are going through something horrible. I have schizophrenia, and I honestly worry that I will have a psychotic episode that goes viral. Story 4. Job listings that expect people to do 3 roles for 1 paycheck. Somehow that became being a team player. Story 5. The invasion of privacy being normalized is a huge issue, and it drives me crazy. It happens on every level. Employers want to be able to text personal cell phones outside business hours, look you up on social media, and use software to find keywords. Our cell phones, which we use for everything, collect data on our habits, everything we like, what we search for, what we buy, where we travel. They also track our steps. Our phones know our every move. People have cameras in their homes, so even when hanging out at someone's house, you're on camera, or even in your own home depending on who you live with. You're not only on camera at work and on the street, but also in your own home. People record everything in public without shame and post it for the world to see, which is crazy. If it's only you, fine. But people share videos of others doing their jobs, just trying to exist, or in pain or hurting. Wild. Now there are glasses that record, and if people don't notice they're being recorded, somehow they become the jerk? No, there are too many sneaky people. Story 6. Taking extra single-family homes out of the market just to rent them out and make extra money is wrong. Building new apartments is acceptable, but hoarding starter homes is unethical behavior. Story 7. The production quality in almost everything made seems poor. It appears that no company truly cares if their products work as intended or if they fall apart the first time they are used. Story 8. There's enough nonsense in the world as it is. I'm also tired of rage-bait stories, most likely fake, being used as a marketing tactic. For example, so my customer ordered a $3,000 wedding cake, and not only did I bake it, but I also donated them a kidney and brought their dead dog back to life. But when I was going to deliver it, they called saying they didn't want it, wanted their $50 deposit back, and had harmed my firstborn. What would you do in this situation? Am I overreacting? Oh my God. Sister, I would definitely pay $10,000 for your cake and all the hard work you put in. You have such a good heart. Story 9. Subscription services for features on vehicles. What do you mean I have to pay to keep my keyless entry working? Story 10. Lack of critical thinking and glorification of many negative behaviors. Not caring because everything feels overwhelming while complaining about the current state of things. Story 11. Artificial intelligence-generated music and images are not the next step in improvement. Instead, the overall quality is declining. Story 12. Much that was once considered unethical is now normal, because people no longer seem to feel shame about their actions or behavior. Story 13. The slow but steady depletion of physical hardware is being replaced with subscription-based software. Phones and laptops have fewer ports that allow for external hardware, so users rely on applications and subscriptions. This trend has already started with printers. My prediction is that it is only a matter of time before they make Bluetooth devices subscription-based. For example, they may limit wireless headphones volume and force advertisements to play unless the user pays. Story 14. Lying. Bearing false witness. Lying without caring that the lie is easily disproven. Lying when telling the truth might produce a better outcome. Lying to cover for someone else's lies. Lying continuously to oneself. Justifying lying by thinking it is acceptable because you are a member of the winning team. Committing fraud, being convicted of fraud, and then lying about the prosecution and conviction. Lying as commonly as people breathe. Story 15. You know what kind of disappeared? The concept of selling out. I think it's because times are tougher, but a lot more people have a do-what-it-takes-to-get-the-money mentality now. Story 16. Abuse in mental hospitals exists, and while not everyone may accept it as normal, Most people I have spoken to either say I am lying or deny that it happens. Why would I lie about the horrors I lived through? Downplay it as not being as bad as it is, or say things like, well, I had a good experience, so they cannot all be bad. Yes, not all experiences are bad, but many are. Having a good experience does not make the abuse that occurs in these places acceptable. I am tired of people responding to the horrors I survived in mental hospitals by saying, my experience was good, so they cannot be that bad. It feels like no one is doing anything about it, and society just accepts it, treating it as if it is okay to do these horrible things to people for being mentally ill. Anyway, end of rant. I get upset about this topic because of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Story 17. Shrinking or reducing the amount of a product without making it clear to the consumer means they are charging you more without telling you. Imagine you are a parent on a fixed income trying to feed your children, and you do not realize you do not have enough food until you are preparing it because it was not made clear on the packaging. It should be made law that any change in size or quantity is clearly indicated on the package. Companies shout loudly when they make an item bigger but are very quiet when they reduce the amount. Story 18. Normalizing unpaid internships in industries that can clearly afford to pay excludes people without financial support and increases inequality. Story 19. In the United States, employer-provided health insurance is a system that creates fear of unemployment. Story 20. The loss of compromise and empathy. Society and some advertising are trending towards an only you matter in your life and your choices are what's best for you. Never compromise on it mindset. While that is true in some cases, we must remember that people are still people, and our choices can hurt others even if we think they are good for us. Sometimes we have to consider how our actions and words affect someone else and compromise when necessary. Story 21. Raising your children strictly indoors with no responsibility or hardship, catering to their every need until they are adults, then bringing chaos into the world. Story 22. Corporate lobbying is going unchecked in general, which is nothing new to be honest. Companies are getting away with environmental damages without consequences. The false sense of immunity all police officers have and abuse in the justice system is problematic. This reflects broader issues within the United States justice system as a whole. Story 23. A 20% tip is considered the normal starting rate. The price of everything is increasing. If anything, you should lower the tipping rate. Story 24. Accepting that the President of the United States is a convicted criminal and serial liar with no moral compass who lies, steals, and is profiting from the presidency. Story 25. Surveillance capitalism. We have normalized the idea that everything we do online and increasingly offline is tracked, sold, and analyzed for profit. Companies and unethical data brokers harvest personal data from our phones, smart devices, social media, and even our conversations through passive listening. They package this data into products sold to advertisers, insurers, political campaigns, and more. What used to be considered invasive is now just convenient. We trade our privacy for personalized ads, predictive suggestions, or a free service without fully realizing the cost. Consent is buried in lengthy terms and conditions that no one reads. The worst part is that most of us just shrug and accept it because that is how the internet works now. We did not opt into this system, we adapted to it. And that is kind of terrifying. What do you think? Story 26. Overworking. People are often too quick to tell others to get a second job or to study all day, every day. Story 27. Fake job listings. Why are we applying to dozens or even hundreds of jobs with maybe 1 or 2 interviews? Story 28. Making every app a subscription. I just want to crop a photo or record a voice memo, not sign a lease. Somehow we went from one-time payments to paying $5 a month forever, or you cannot rotate your image. People just shrug and pay it. It is digital extortion dressed up as convenience. Story 29. Saudi Arabia executes people for conversion out of Islam or blaspheming Muhammad. This is codified law. Public worship of other religions is also banned. Pakistan allows underage non-Muslim girls to be kidnapped for forced conversion. A senator tried introducing a ban, but the bill was blocked. Iran has Sharia morality police who detain women deemed immodest. 22-year-old Masa Amini was tortured and killed for wearing an improper hijab. Young Americans and Westerners increasingly view this as normal there. Story 30. Making a joke of people cheating. For example, the Coldplay couple is currently popular as meme material, but in the background, two marriages and families are falling apart while the world is literally laughing at it. Story 31. Tipping at every chance. Starbucks drive-thru asking for tips. Restaurants like McDonald's or similar fast service places. If someone is talking to me and serving me, they will receive a tip based on their service, not an automatic 20%. Story 32. Posting your children online or centering entire accounts around them treats them like content machines. Story 33. Tipping is becoming ridiculous. What's next? Tipping at self-checkout. Also, asking for donations at checkout or rounding up. Story 34. Using new accounts on this subreddit to accumulate karma, so you can either sell the account or bypass karma requirements for larger not safe for work subreddits. Story 35. Telling obvious, ridiculous, yet evil lies and somehow having them regarded as positive by masses of people. Story 36. Fully accepting extremely serious allegations as true without strong evidence and calling for individuals to have their lives ruined. Story 37. The existence of teenage pornography is concerning. I don't care if 18 is technically legal. If someone in their 30s is attracted to an 18-year-old, then they are very strange. Story 38. Pedophilia, apparently. Donald Trump was already a convicted sex offender when America voted for him, but in light of recent events, the grand old party seems to stand for guardians of pedophiles these days. It grosses me out to share a society with these people. Story 39. Recording everything for social media. There was a highway accident. Okay, let's put it on Facebook Live. There are people arguing in a public space. Okay, video it for Instagram. Someone is being dangerously drunk on the subway or at a party. Yes, film it. Intimate moments with your partner. Yes, film it. Whatever happened to decency? Are likes and heart reactions really better than that? Story 40. Charging more than necessary just because you can. Also forming monopolies on healthcare and then telling small towns that they do not need a hospital in their town when they can get care 30 minutes away. I think the stroke victim might be dead by the time the ambulance gets here. Story 41. Eugenics is surprisingly gaining attention. TikTok is one of my main social media platforms, and I have noticed an increase in people excusing eugenics talking points. For example, some individuals state that disabled people should not have children. Story 42. A $45,000 signing bonus and a $100,000 per year salary for immigration and customs enforcement, when millions of Americans are losing access to food security and healthcare. Story 43. Overheard. The bad thing about TikTok is the Chinese accessing your data. Yeah, that is the bad thing about TikTok. Story 44. If you need fraud protection because of your personal information such as name, social security number, medical information, and others, you have to call a call center and provide them with all of that personal information. Story 45. According to an earlier post, apparently borrowing 2 liters of strawberry puree from work is acceptable. Story 46. Filming strangers in public without their knowledge and uploading their full face with locations specified to the internet. Story 47. The entire sports betting industry and how it has infiltrated everything. Disrespect to every single celebrity who promotes that for a quick payday. Story 48. The constant lies and disinformation we hear daily from our government seem to involve new claims without facts or evidence to support them. Story 49. Ghost job interviews. I have had 3 companies this year put me through multiple rounds of interviews, make me do unpaid sample projects, and then just disappear completely. No rejection email, no explanation, nothing. Story 50. Rent is about $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment in some parts of Vermont. You need to earn 3 times the rent in salary. Story 51. Emotional support animals are used to bring pets into places that should not allow them. I would not be surprised if less than 1% of all these supposedly needed animals are actually legitimate. It is just entitled people who think their desire to have their pets around outweighs everyone else's desire not to have them there. Story 52. Shame. People do not feel bad about being unpleasant because they now have a small corner of the internet where someone tells them they are right. Story 53. Just straight up outright grifting throughout an entire presidential administration without even trying to hide it. I know bribery has been around forever, but usually you would get it under the table or in some package slightly smaller than a jumbo jet. Even old-time mobbed-up mayors usually had a little bit of plausible deniability. Story 54. The alarming growth of open hatred towards groups of people different from ourselves is concerning. This includes the rise of extreme views and the shocking lack of care towards the most vulnerable members of our society. COVID-19 lockdowns may have contributed, and the situation has been exacerbated by governments cutting back too far on public spending again. There is a shortage of assistance and a great need, and people are easier to manipulate when they are desperate for their situation to improve. Story 55. Accepting a $400 million aircraft as a bribe. For amusement, it is a white elephant that the owners could not sell. Story 56. Snapchat Plus. Extreme monitoring of your added friends' activity is presented by Snapchat as a friendly feature. No, it will create problems. Story 57. Those fake ads promoting poor quality products on YouTube with the fake feel-good backstory. John was a hardworking teacher, firefighter, astronaut. When one day he noticed problem, he searched for obvious solution, but couldn't find anything that met technical criteria for less than price point. He immediately spent 36 years developing solution in his basement, attic, or shed and presented it to the industry. The major companies were horrified by John's simple but effective solution and immediately sued, covered up, or tried to buy out his invention. So John was forced to launch product Supermax 3000 Plus on his own. Since then, he has disrupted the multi-trillion-dollar industry, and big industry is running scared. Today you can buy product Supermax 3000 Plus and see for yourself how well it heats, cools, cooks, or flies at a very low price of just cost. Story 58. Ethnic cleansing. After World War II, at least nations tried to hide it. Now it is just a normal Thursday. Story 59. I do not know how recent this is, as I am newly an adult, but the monetization of public records access is surprising to me. If it is a public record, why do I have to pay for it? As a member of the public, it should be my right. Story 60. My husband and his 4 brothers grew up on a family farm in Wisconsin, United States. It was a for-profit dairy farm, not a hobby farm. The amount of child labor without pay still legal on family farms in the United States is staggering. Absolutely stunning. We accuse sweatshops for companies like Temu and Shine of being cruel, but few people realize the dangers of working on a family farm. My husband, at age 12, was run over by a family farm tractor. He was expected to drive it at that age. His legs and ribs were crushed. He needed an emergency tracheotomy and multiple surgeries to save his life. Then it happened again a few years later to his younger brother, who was less injured but still hospitalized at only age 6. He was not driving it, but he was in the way of harm during work hours. 3 of his brothers fell from the second-story hay mound in the barn onto the concrete floor below. One got a concussion and broke his arm. Another younger brother nearly drowned in the manure pit, and it took 3 adult men to save him. All these injuries happened to various brothers below age 14. One of the brothers says he cannot remember most of his childhood. It is all blocked out from the intense labor, long hours, and hard conditions. None of them were paid until after they turned 16. None of them were compensated for any injuries. Nobody called Child Protective Services. No visits from social services. It is all legal. It is abuse in plain sight, and it is all over the United States. Nobody even bats an eye about it. Do not just take my word for it. Search for it. It is still legal in the United States to work your children on the family farm without pay. There is little to no oversight and no specific department to oversee child labor on family farms in the United States. Story 61. Monopolistic, anti-consumer, and outright anti-freedom tactics. More and more companies realize If we get together, we can dictate our rules to everyone. What are you going to do about it? We are the only service providers. Do what we tell you to do. Other companies obey, and governments barely do anything about it. Story 62. Dating multiple people at the same time is dishonest, and internet dating has normalized this behavior. It never used to happen because people usually dated within friendship circles, and if you were caught doing it, others would think poorly of you. Now, it is common to treat the dating process like a job interview, which many find unpleasant. Story 63. Being on your phone while at work. Before COVID-19, we had strict rules at work about phone usage. Of course, people still use their phones for important private calls, but during and after COVID-19, phone usage exploded. Now, it is completely normal to be on your phone at work all the time. Story 64. Fake and ghost job postings, being ignored by recruiters, and being forced to go through many interview rounds only to not be given the job in the end. Story 65. You are being forced to choose arbitration in a legal dispute with many companies because you accepted their terms of service, which is questionable. Story 66. Slavery. We have overwhelming documentation of slavery being involved in everything from chocolate to sneakers to electronics to the entire service industry in Dubai. Story 67. As an English person, I cannot believe the state of American healthcare. It is beyond immoral and honestly blows my mind that people are charged for having babies, being run over, losing their loved ones, and so on. Story 68. Overperforming in silence while being undervalued or emotionally taxed, and convincing yourself it is just part of being strong or capable. Story 69. Billionaires. Nobody needs that much money. I do not care if they worked very hard to get where they are. I do not think you can get that rich being ethical. It is like the thing Matilda's dad said, nobody got rich being honest. I know it is a line from a children's movie, but it is somewhat true. Story 70. An unelected foreign billionaire is undermining the entire United States government, while the elected leader shows friendliness toward the Russian dictator. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.